Hey guys, this is Alex Serpentine. I'm back again with a new video series. This is based on the Michael teaching stuff. But basically, what I'm going to be doing is going through the dragons or obstacles in Michael teachings. If you don't know what Michael teachings is, it's a channel body of knowledge that has a lot of different characteristics. And the ones that I'm going to be reviewing today are ones that we take on for each life. They're called dragons or obstacles. So I'm going to do 7 videos, one for each of the 7 obstacles. And this video is about arrogance. So this information is mainly taken from Jose Stevens' book, Transforming Your Dragons, How to Turn Fear Patterns into Personal Power. So yeah, most of this is taken from that book. So I'm just going to go over the main outline stuff to pay attention to from each chapter of his book. So let's get into it for this one. So the one we're looking at in this video is arrogance. And arrogance is a fear of vulnerability or of being judged negatively or being exposed as inadequate or flawed. There's a confusion over self-worth. And you swing from feeling inflated and special to experiencing puncture and deflation. So basically, sometimes you puff yourself up and make yourself feel more important than others, and then sometimes you feel like deflated, where you don't feel like you're important, or you feel like worse than everybody else. It's a fear pattern that includes aloofness, shyness, remoteness, performance anxiety, false personas, vanity, criticalness, and narcissism. And it stems from being compared to high standards as children. That you needed to be a certain way as a child. You had to be at a high standard. So this is actually my main obstacle. When I got my chart channel, I found out I had arrogance as my main one. So what I've had to learn about this is I used to like really kind of have this air about me that was making me kind of shy and aloof and kind of hide myself. But then I also remember when I was younger, I was very judgmental of others in my mind, and then I was secretly telling myself that I'm more important or better than people, which is silly, but it was a way. What I realized later was it was a way to protect myself because I actually felt very vulnerable, and it comes across to people as shyness, but sometimes people can feel. I remember now, looking back, that people sometimes made comments that I was, alluding to this arrogance, like kind of like, oh, like I'm better than everybody else. So I was acting really silly around people in a way that kind of came off as like, oh, like I'm better than everybody else, something like that. But it's also I can relate to all these things of feeling shy and aloof, and even performance anxiety, things like that. Talking in front of people, it was actually very hard to overcome that, and I'm still working on it on a certain level, but I've gotten a lot better. But even making these videos at first was difficult because I had a fear of being judged, um, and of being vulnerable. I've also heard that this is related to it stems from feelings from past lives where you were exposed, maybe vulnerable to the world, and something happened as a result of that. Maybe there's like a fall from grace, or you were killed. That's possibly what it can stem from. But also, all these patterns stem from they usually stem from certain childhood experiences, and like I said, you're kind of compared to high standards as children is a possible way that this kind of thing can form. So in the Michael teachings, for all the different characteristics in your chart, including these dragons or obstacles, there's a positive pole and a negative pole. So the positive pole is the best possible version of how this can manifest. What what you can learn from this obstacle and how you can best express it and overcome it. And then the negative pole is the worst version of it and the most negative manifestation. So for arrogance, the positive pole is pride. It's a healthy sense of self-worth that inspires confidence without diminishing others. And then the negative pole is vanity. It's an inflated self-image that leads to superficiality and a need for external validation. So we'll go to the next slide here. So there's an external manifestation for each of these and an internal manifestation. The external manifestation of arrogance is like narcissistic, conceited, filled with machismo, smug, boastful, egotistical, complacent, self-important, big-headed, inflated, and prideful. The internal manifestation is self-conscious, shy, embarrassed, or uncomfortable. So there's actually 7 steps that were outlined in Jose Stevens' book for each of these obstacles and how they develop in childhood. So at first, the children learn to turn against themselves. Then the children try to be perfect people who are not themselves. So you see they're starting to hold themselves to a high standard. They feel like they have to be perfect. And then they learn to hide their flaws and pretend to be invulnerable. Like, I'm invincible. I'm not vulnerable at all. Nobody can affect me. But you actually do feel vulnerable even though you're pretending to be invulnerable. Then the children learn to scrutinize others for clues about being acceptable. Then they learn to scrutinize and police themselves. Then they identify with their aggressors and judge themselves. And then they learn to turn the tables by trying to be better than others. So that's the development of arrogance. Also, for each of these steps, there's in the book, he's got belief and decision associated with each of these. So they're basically like little statements of how these are manifesting and what you believe and how you decide to act based on the development steps. So first, it's a feeling of I am not okay, and then it develops into I'm perfect and therefore I'm special. Then I can successfully hide my feelings from others, and I must try to find out what others want from me. I must look to others for clues. I must monitor myself constantly. I must be harshly critical with myself. I'll see through the critical eyes of others. And I must criticize others before they criticize me. I have a right to because I am better than they are. There's also stages of maturity, which is tied to the soul ages that's taught in Michael teachings. And basically, the soul ages are different developmental stages that we go through in our reincarnational cycle. So we're learning certain lessons at the beginning, and we as we mature through our reincarnational cycle, we learn different lessons, and our approach to these obstacles and how we relate to them changes. At first, you're not very aware of these obstacles and how they're actually affecting you. But as you move into the later soul ages, you become more conscious of these patterns and more self-conscious. And so it manifests differently. So at the infant soul age, Jose Stevens called this the biggest gorilla. They seek to dominate through brute force and intimidation. At the baby soul age, they're petty bureaucrat, which is wielding authority to assert control over others. At the young soul stage, there's Jose Stevens called this high status, where you derive self-worth from societal recognition and achievements. At the mature soul stage, you feel shy, you feel discomfort with others, and you feel shame. And at the old soul stage, there's a philosophical arrogance where you judge others quietly and internally. So like I said, as you go to the later soul ages, you become more aware of the patterns, more self-conscious, and So that's just how it develops. It manifests differently in each person based on where they're at in their soul age process. So now we're going to look at some affirmations that you can say that can help you overcome the the arrogance obstacle. And these are straight from Jose Stevens' book. I'm amazed at how accepting I have become of both myself and other people. I'm equal to, not better or worse than, other people. I have become confident in my ability to let others see all of me, warts and all. I make friends easily. Others experience me as warm and open. I am proud of my accomplishments. I need not advertise my successes. They are seen by others naturally. And I'm happy to see how tolerant I have become of criticism. I learn from it. So there's a thing on that last one where you feel like you have to like protect yourself from being criticized because that's just very painful. But when you start accepting your vulnerability, you're able to accept criticism and take it as something useful that you can learn from. So that's the affirmations. Then Jose Stevens has 7 weapons and how to slay the arrogance dragon. Weapon 1 is realizing that you're not the dragon. You're not actually this pattern. It's something that's taken over you and affected you. It's a certain fear that became prominent in your experience. Weapon 2 is admit that you're isolated. Weapon 3, show your vulnerability. Weapon 4, pay attention to others. So instead of being so self-focused on like, oh, how are other people perceiving me, being very self-conscious, instead it becomes, well, let me just tune into what's going on with other people. Let me be sensitive to other people and let me be less self-conscious. Weapon 5, let yourself be. Weapon 6, release judgment of yourself and others. So as you release judgment of yourself, at the same time you start to release that from others. And then weapon 7 is be equal to others. So really getting over this dragon is to see yourself on the equal levels with everybody else. Nobody's worse or better than anybody else. So those are the weapons. And here's 7 exercises that you could do to overcome arrogance. Exercise 1 is to speak in public. So a big part of the arrogance thing is that you want to kind of hide away from others, especially in the mature soul age level where you're really shy. It feels very exposing to be in front of a group of people because everybody's looking at you, paying attention to you, and then you become really self-conscious, and then you get uncomfortable. But actually speaking in public is how you get over that. You just release your vulnerability, like you become vulnerable and allow yourself to feel being like that. It's like you put down your kind of this defense layer that you have inside. Also, it says take 3 social risks a day. So it's really interacting with people is a big way that you get over this obstacle. Exercise 3, get counseling. It's a good idea to have somebody that you can talk to about this issue and how to overcome it. Forgive the people who judged you. So sometimes there's a feeling that you're really sensitive to judgment from others. So you have to kind of learn how to forgive that from other people and accept yourself. Exercise 5 is make a fool of yourself on purpose. And so this is what I was kind of realizing in how to overcome this is like embracing the fool archetype, like the tarot card. Like a fool is not like trying to be boastful and make themselves big or important. They're just like, I'm a fool. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here. And that's taking that approach is a deep level of self-acceptance. Exercise 6 is review your embarrassments. So there's a lot of things that for people with arrogance, they might focus on memories of situations where they were really embarrassed, and that's where they feel really judged and they feel very vulnerable. So reviewing your embarrassments to like sort through why you feel that way, why you feel embarrassed about things, can help like heal and uncover what was really going on, so then you can move beyond that. And this is the last exercise, is to develop your weak side, which is kind of like the vulnerability, same kind of thing. But instead of being like strong and like hold yourself in that kind of arrogant aura or air, you just allow yourself to be weak in whatever weak feels like, which is total like vulnerability basically. So those are 7 exercises you can do. And that's basically everything I wanted to present on arrogance. So I'm going to do some more videos on the different dragons or obstacles. And like I said, these are all from the book Transforming Your Dragons, which goes into much deeper detail on all the patterns for each of the obstacles. This is by Jose Stevens. So that's it for this video. I'm going to do, like I said, to do the next 6, and they should be about the same length. I did a video a while ago looking at all these obstacles all together in one video, but I wanted to do more specialized focus, especially looking into this book, which is a really great book. So thanks so much for tuning in to learn about arrogance. And if you want to learn about the other ones, just look on my channel and I'll have the other ones up soon. Thank you.